Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Hello everyone. So in this video, I'll discuss factors that shift the LM curve. So this is a continuation from our previous discussion with regard to the LM curve. So what basically we're gonna try to establish in this video is to show what are the factors that are gonna shift the LM curve. So there are basically two factors that will shift the LM curve. The first one would be changes in money supply. Okay, as we know, money supply is fixed and it is exogenously decided by the central bank and it is a policy variable. And secondly, LM curve will also shift when the money demand curve shifts. Okay, and so far we already discussed that money demand curve would shift when there are changes in the liquidity preference. Liquidity preference. The liquidity preference in terms of holding wealth in the forms of money or bonds. So these are the two factors that are going to shape the LM curve. So let's start with the first factor, okay, which is the change, okay, in the money supply. Okay, change in money supply. So this is what we have. We're going to make use of the simple, okay, linear equation of the money demand of the money demand equation. Okay, so far what we have established is that money demand, okay, according to the Keynesian framework, is a function of income and interest rate, and it is positively affected by income due to transaction and precautionary motive, and it is negatively influenced by interest rate due to speculative demand. So we can come up with a specific functional form for the money demand, where we're going to write this in a linear form, C0 plus C1y minus C2r. Okay, and we know that in equilibrium, okay, the condition requires that money supply must equal to money demand. Okay, money demand equation, where money demand, how we have already expressed it in this form. Okay, in this form. So basically what we are establishing here is that money supply must equal to C0 plus C1y minus C2r, okay, at equilibrium. Okay, now when money supply changes, we already know that when money supply changes, this will change, right, the equilibrium in the money market, right? Because money demand, okay, will be downward sloping, and this is our money supply. Okay, this is our money supply equation. So when there is a change, okay, so this will be the equilibrium interest rate at R0, and this will be the equilibrium quantity of money, M bar 0. Okay, now when money supply changes, so let's say the central bank decided, okay, to let's say, I don't know, either quantitative easing or print more money. Okay, so they decided to shift, okay, money supply, okay, decided to increase money supply from MS0 to MS1. So now at the old interest rate, we have excess supply of money. Okay, excess supply of money. Excess supply of money compared to the demand for money, it is very low. So what this would then create, okay, pressure on the interest rate, okay, to go down. Interest rate will pressure to go down, so that it will be more attractive for people to hold money and less attractive for people to hold bonds, right? As interest rate goes down, holding bond is no longer attractive. So people would want to sell their bonds and demand money. They want to hold money. So this process, this adjustment process will continue until we reach the new equilibrium at R1. Okay, where now the economy going to end up with a higher equilibrium quantity of money at M bar 1. Okay, so now this is what happens in the money market. Okay, in the money market. So now how do we translate this in the the LM setup? Okay. Now, when we want to do when we want to analyze, okay, the what we basically want to translate this. Okay, we want to translate this equation. Okay, this equation. Okay, into the LR frame, into the Y and R framework. Okay, because this is what we are doing when we are measuring the LM curve. We are basically trying to establish the relationship between income and interest rate. So now what we can do is that we can rearrange this term, okay, such that we want to isolate, we want to put R on the left-hand side of the equation because it is the dependent variable. So what we're going to do here is that this would be C2, okay, the negative C2, it will be, I'm going to bring it to the left-hand side of the equation, okay, of the left-hand side of the equation. So this would be positive. We're going to add C2R, okay, from both sides. And similarly, we're going to subtract, okay, this MS, okay, from both sides. So I'm going to have C0, okay. I'm going to subtract this MS first over here. So this is MS0, which is, I'm going to simply write this to be M, okay, to be M, because this is simply our equilibrium quantity of money, okay, equilibrium quantity of money that we achieve, okay, in the money market. So minus M, okay, and then we're going to have plus, okay, C1Y. And there is a C2 here, so what we're going to do next is to simply divide both sides of the equation with C2. So this would be M minus C divided by C2 plus C1 over C2Y. Okay, if you focus on this, okay, this term, you should be able to see that, okay, so this is our simple equation for our LM curve, right? This is our LM curve, LM curve equation, where this term, this portion of the equation, okay, would be basically the intercept, okay, the intercept, while C1 over C2, this would be the slope of our LM curve, okay, which we have discussed in the previous video. C1 over C2 would determine either whether our LM curve would be steeper or flatter. Okay, now let's focus on the change here. Okay, so now since we have assumed that the central bank have increased money supply, so let's say here what we are analyzing is that central bank, okay, increase, okay, money supply from MS0 to MS1 to MS1. Okay, so now this is let's say this is the original, okay, M bar 0, and this is our money demand, okay, our money demand curve, okay, which is a function of income. Okay, so this is a function of income at Y0, okay, at Y0. Now, as money supply, okay, so just get the equilibrium interest rate, the original equilibrium interest rate, and let's say this is our original Y0 over here, okay, in the LM curve, okay. So now what happens when and let's just draw the LM curve. I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna just draw the LM curve. So let's say this is our LM curve, okay, LM curve. So this is the original LM curve, LM0, and remember this will be our intercept, okay, which is C0 over C2, okay, minus M. We start with M bar 0, okay, divided by C2, right? This is from this part, okay, from this equation, because this would be our intercept, okay, our intercept over here. Okay, so now central bank increase money supply, okay, money supply from MS0 to MS1. Okay, so let's just see what happens in the money market. Okay, so the money supply curve will then shift to the right, and there will be a pressure on the interest rate, okay, because of the excess supply, okay, of money. Interest rate will be pressured to go down, okay, interest rate will be pressured to go down, okay, to the new equilibrium. And at the new equilibrium, we know that the new equilibrium quantity of money is now higher at M bar 1, okay, at M bar 1. Okay, now how would we then translate this? Translate this event, okay, in the LM curve. Okay, now take note that the equilibrium quantity of money, okay, is represented in the intercept. Okay, in the intercept. Now that our intercept, okay, it will basically change our intercept. So now instead of negative M0, we are now having a bigger quantity of money. Bigger quantity of money. So that would basically means that our LM curve, okay, LM curve will have to shift to the right, okay, to the right, because we're now going to have a new intercept. So our new intercept, okay, would be C0 over C2 minus M bar 1 over C2. Okay, because now we have a higher supply of money. Higher supply of money, which already caused to higher equilibrium quantity of money in the money market. Okay, so this is for the corresponding new interest rate. Okay, so this is the new intercept. Okay, and let's say it is the slope doesn't change, and this is the new LM curve. Okay, as we can see now, at the old, okay, interest rate, okay, at the old interest rate, there is a pressure for the interest rate, okay, to go down to R1, okay, to R1, and since income level, okay, remain the same, so this should be on the new LM curve, where our Y, okay, our income level would simply remain the same. Okay, the economy will not, okay, be able to go to this imaginary higher level of income, because the money market would adjust, okay, by lowering the interest rate. So when the interest rate has fall down, there will be offset between the holdings of money and bonds in the money market. So this will be the first factor that will basically show you how does a change in money supply would then affect, okay, the shift the LM curve, okay, to the right. Okay, now with regard to the second case, okay, the second factor, where now let's look at what happened to the LM curve when the demand for money has changed. Okay, so we're going to assume an exogenous factor, which is the liquidity preference. So let's say at the moment, in general, the public have lost confidence in holding bonds. In that case, people would prefer to hold money. In this case, so when this happens, basically the demand for money will go up while income level remains the same. Ceteris paribus, all other things remain the same. It's just that suddenly people love to hold money more compared to bonds. Okay, so now this change in liquidity preference will shift the money demand curve in the money market. Okay, so let's just try to have all this the initial setup again. So now we are focusing on, let's say, the second factor, which is the money demand. Okay, let's say the change is caused by liquidity preference. Okay, liquidity preference, where now people simply want to hold more, prefer to hold more money. Okay, so let's start with the initial, okay, setup of the model. Okay, so this is our money market, R and M, and this is our LM curve, R and Y. So let's say we started, okay, we're going to have, so this is our exogenously determined money supply decided by the central bank, and this is our M bar 0, okay, since this would be the equilibrium, okay, in the money market. So let's say this is MD, okay, when income level is at Y0. So this would be the equilibrium interest rate, okay, which would also be the same, okay, in the LM curve. So let's say this is our original, okay, Y0. And remember the intercept, okay, of our LM curve, okay, which would be negative, okay, C2 minus M bar 0 divided by C2. So this is the intercept of our LM curve, and I need to draw a line, a straight line, which basically crosses, okay, this. Okay, okay, so this is the initial setup, okay, of our analysis, okay, here. So now let's say what happens when people suddenly prefers to hold money. Okay, people suddenly prefer to hold more money compared to bonds. So when this happens, when this preference, okay, this liquidity preference changes, okay, this basically gonna change our money demand equation. Okay, money demand equation. Okay, so money demand equation, okay, because this would basically be represented, okay, because liquidity preference, okay, is will be represented by C0. Okay, C0, because this is something that is what C0 is the coefficient that represent all other factors. Okay, all other factors that make people to suddenly they like to hold more money. Okay, so this C0 equation. Okay, if you don't recall that, you may want to check back your econometrics textbook, where the intercept or the constant term basically represent all other exogenous factors that are not represented in the equation. So liquidity preference, okay, would be captured by C0. Okay, it will be captured by C0, this term, C0. Let me just start that with C0 prime, C0 prime. Okay, so now our money demand equation from MD0, okay, which equals to C0 prime, okay, plus C1 Y minus C2 R, okay, so this is Y0, okay, and R0 now have changed. So now there is an increase in money demand, okay, due to preference. People suddenly prefer to hold more money. Okay, so let's just put that as C0 double prime. Okay, all other things is assumed to be the same. Okay, all other things are assumed to be the same. So let's say this is the new, okay, money demand. So this will then shift, okay, our money demand to the right. Okay, MD1. Okay, while our income level still remain the same at Y0. It didn't change. It's just that people prefer to hold more money at the moment. So there is an excess demand for money here. So this would then create pressure, okay, on the interest rate. Interest rate cannot remain at this R0 because money market will not be in equilibrium. So this would then have to be adjusted where the new money demand, okay, would only be in equilibrium when the interest rate responded, okay, adjusted, okay, by absorbing all the shocks. Okay, so we have to basically gonna end up at this new equilibrium. Okay, there'll be a pressure, so that to make the bonds market to become a little bit more attractive, so that some people, okay, as the adjustment process takes place, some people will be attracted to hold bonds and they would demand less money. Okay, so this adjustment process will continue until we reach the new equilibrium at R1. Okay, at R1. Now, as this takes place, take note that now our the intercept here, okay, C prime 0, okay, and move to C double prime 0 has gone up. Okay, so this term has gone up. So when the C0 term has become bigger, the intercept will shift to the left, because now okay, because based on this analysis, we have basically C0 prime is smaller than C0 double prime. C0 double prime represent the change in the liquidity preference. Okay, so this would be double prime 0 over C2 minus M bar 0 divided by C2. Okay, so our LM curve would now shift, okay, to the left, okay, at LM1. Okay, at LM1. And take note that at the old interest rate, okay, there's a pressure for the interest rate, okay, in the money market to go up, and this would then correspond, because income level remains the same. Okay, it will basically shift from R0 to R1 because of the pressure in the money market, and our income level would remain the same at Y. So this more or less explain the storyline here. So as we have the increase in the liquidity preference, money demand curve would shift to the right, okay? And take note that this will be represented by the C0 term, the intercept, which basically covers all other factors that are not specified endogenously in the equation. So in the money market, there's a pressure on the interest rate to go up and reach the new equilibrium. and in this case, the LM curve would then shift to the left. And this would be the conclusion, okay, just to wrap up of what we have discussed so far with regard to the LM curve. So the LM curve basically give us the combinations of income level and interest rate that makes the money market to be in equilibrium, and it has a positive slope. Okay, and the slope is it depends on the sensitivity, okay, of the money demand to change in interest rate. And we know that also the curve, the LM curve, would shift to the right whenever money supply goes up, but it will shift to the left, okay, when there's an increase in the demand for money that come from the demand side. An example that we have done is the liquidity preference. Okay, I think that's all for now, and thank you for watching. Inshallah, see you again in other videos. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.